For the past few years, AI in the business world has been all about the hype, right? The potential. But that whole conversation is shifting fast. Now it's all about results. So in this explainer, we're going to break down how businesses are finally moving past the buzz and getting a real, tangible return on their AI investment. And this quote just puts it perfectly. AI isn't just another tech trend, it's the super cycle. Think about that. This isn't like a new software update we have to learn. No, this is a fundamental shift in how business works, and it is happening at a speed that we have just never seen before. And to give you a sense of that speed, get this. The computing power that we're using to train the biggest AI models, it's doubling every 6 months. That is 5 times faster than Moore's Law. The engine that's been driving tech and the economy for decades. We are in completely uncharted territory here. So to really get our heads around this journey from hype to actual ROI, we're going to look at 4 key things today. What this enterprise supercycle really is, the 3 waves of how companies are adopting it, the new mandate for proving ROI, and maybe most importantly, the human side of the equation. All right, first up, AI's enterprise supercycle. This is all about how AI went from being this fascinating new toy to something that is absolutely core to business strategy. The game has totally changed. Just a couple of years ago, leaders were asking if they should even look at AI. Now, the only question that matters is how. How do we use this to build a real, lasting competitive advantage? It is not optional anymore. So how on earth did we get here so fast? Well, some really great research from Morton gives us a perfect way to look at it. It breaks down this whole journey into 3 distinct waves of adoption. So if you rewind to 2023, that was the exploration phase. Everyone was fascinated, but, pretty cautious, just testing AI on small, simple tasks. Then 2024 hit, and bam, experimentation. Spending shot up, formal pilots were everywhere. And that brings us to today, what they're calling accountable acceleration. AI is now a daily habit, and the pressure is on to prove it's actually worth it. And the speed of this is just staggering. Look at this chart. Weekly Gen AI use among business leaders jumped from just 37% in 2023 to 82% today. It's not just a tool anymore. It's deeply woven into how work actually gets done. So, here's the bottom line. When you get that level of adoption, accountability follows. 72% of leaders are now formally measuring the return on their AI investments. Yeah, the days of getting by with just a cool demo, those are over. And that leads us right into our 3rd section, the ROI mandate. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is asking for proof that these massive investments are actually paying off. This is it, right? This is the question that's on every CEO's and CFO's mind. It's one thing to show people are using it, but how do you prove it's having a real bottom-line impact? Where's the proof? Well, how about this for proof? Check out this case study on AI in a supply chain. The results are pretty incredible. They jacked up their demand forecasting accuracy to 94%. They automated nearly 80% of their decisions. And here's the kicker. They generated a net annual benefit of over $3.3 million. Now that is what ROI looks like. So why do some companies see results like that while others just stall out? Well, the difference is surprisingly simple. The projects that fail, there's no one who owns the outcome. Success is just vague. But the projects that succeed, they have a named business owner who is on the hook for the results, and they set clear baselines to measure against from day one. It all boils down to accountability. And here's a super practical 3-step playbook for doing it right. First, you have to define the value driver. What are you actually trying to improve? Cost, revenue? And you've got to baseline it. Second, choose your metrics. You need to track the early stuff, like adoption, and the final financial outcomes. And third, create a cadence. Review it every single month. If something isn't working, you have to have the discipline to change course or just stop it. Okay, and that brings us to our final section. And honestly, this might be the most critical one. Now that the technology is getting so good, the real bottleneck isn't the algorithm anymore. It's the people. It's the organization. And this chart reveals such a fascinating tension. Look at this. A huge majority of leaders, 89%, believe AI makes their employees better, enhances their skills. But at the exact same time, 71% believe it's going to replace some of those skills. Both things can be true at once, and figuring out how to navigate that complexity is the central challenge for every leader right now. And this is where the problem really comes into focus. Just when organizational readiness becomes the #1 concern, investment and confidence in employee training are actually going down. On top of that, you've got leaders worried that their team's skills are going to get rusty from leaning too much on AI, and they're still struggling to hire the advanced talent they need. This right here is the new bottleneck. And this quote just absolutely nails it. AI success depends more on organizational readiness than algorithmic sophistication. In other words, you could have the smartest, most powerful AI on the planet, but if your people, your culture, and your processes aren't ready for it, the whole thing is going to fall flat. Okay, so let's tie all this together. What does this all mean for you and your organization? Let's distill these insights into one final, actionable playbook for how to win with enterprise AI. First, you've got to treat this as a long-term supercycle, not some short-term trend. Second, you have to demand disciplined accountability and move beyond just fun experiments. Third, embed AI directly into how people work and give it clear business owners. Fourth, measure everything, baseline where you start, and track the outcomes relentlessly. And finally, and this is the big one, invest in your people, their readiness, their training, their trust. That is your biggest lever for success. So I'll just leave you with this question. It's a given that your organization is adopting AI. Everyone is. The real question is this: is your organization truly ready to be accountable for it? Because that right there is the line between hype and ROI.